Hi, this is a screencast about problem-based learning. Patience you must have, my young Padawan. If you know what that quote means, enjoy it. So what I'm going to talk about is what is problem-based learning, what role does inquiry play in problem-based learning, and what opportunities could we fit PBL into a classroom, curriculum, or the school. So first off, what is problem-based learning? Well, I think the definition encompasses quite a bit, and I don't know if a 5-minute screencast will really capture everything, but I'll try and highlight some of the salient points that I think are important. In PBL, teachers will pose a problem which may not be well defined or clearly understood, but the idea is to get students engaged in thinking about that in their own terms and get them engaged in thinking. I just realized that relatable might be spelled incorrectly there. And the questions or problems or issues that are presented are hopefully something related to the classroom, school, or community that the students can identify with and understand or see as a problem that they maybe have thought about before. PBL is also a process where students get deeply involved in their own learning and shape how that happens. Teachers will model, maybe using the Socratic seminar method or something, pose questions or think aloud and model inquiry-based learning for their students, and not just dole out answers, but encourage their students to think and offer ideas or questions about stuff. This is kind of based on the constructivist theory. I forget who posed the question. Constructivist, it could have been Dewey. And the idea is to observe, think, and question, use those strategies in learning, again, to kind of engage higher order thinking skills in students. Gather, process, and apply. That was the 3-level model where students would gather information, process it, and then at the end apply it. And that was kind of like the idea of almost the Bloom's taxonomy, where students go through the process of gathering information at the base of the pyramid and then being able to synthesize it and utilize it to apply to new problems or be able to present things in their own terms or in terms that they've learned or understood, rather than just memorizing things by rote memorization. Also, PBL is about creating an invitational sort of environment, teacher model, collaborative. Students work in small groups and share ideas, learn to respect different points of views and each other's points of views, and maybe directly question each other's ideas and ask for elaboration. So it's not just a teacher like a coach with a ball, tossing the ball to a student and the student passing it back. Students are encouraged to question each other and learn from one another. So it's almost like a flipped classroom, I guess. Some quotes. Yeah, it's presented in an authentic context, real-world application of science and knowledge. That was a citation within one of the other papers that I read. I think it was authentic as it gets. And also another quote, they will have a stake in the problem. That kind of struck me as important. I come from the Fortune 500 world where employees are hopefully completely engaged in what they're doing. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is when employees or people are intrinsically motivated, they're more apt to learn or be engaged. So when the motivation comes from within, that helps them learn or do better at the job or whatever. So when people can identify with a situation and own it, they're more likely to do well at it and learn. Teachers, they act as models, thinking aloud with the students and practicing behavior that they want their students to use. Again, I think that was could have been the as authentic as it gets paper, but that strikes me as different from how I learned and was brought up or was educated, where we weren't really encouraged to offer our thoughts in class. So I see that as a pretty cool way of teaching and getting students to learn, by kind of like, hey, we're all kind of fallible human beings and we make mistakes too. And I think if we can model that sort of thing, that it's okay to make mistakes, then we'll make great strides in teaching kids and letting kids teach them how to fail, and that's okay. So what role does inquiry play in PBL? I think the peer interaction and discussion is pretty cool. Getting students to be open enough to blurt out an idea or a question and have them realize that no question is stupid or weird, or giving them a comforting sort of environment to ask the questions. Being focused on complex issues, I think that's interesting and important. It's not just silly things that are irrelevant. These are things that affect and impact kids' lives. I like the idea of reflective journals for students to examine their own thinking over the course of a unit. Hey, let's look back and how did I approach this, or what was I thinking before, and kind of reflecting on how their critical thinking skills have evolved. Again, I've mentioned an inviting environment. No questions is too weird. I think that's important. Providing questions rather than facts or answers, resulting in the activation of thinking and learning in students. Lifelong skill that can be applied to any complex issue. Again, those are things that I think that inquiry is an important part of PBL because of those reasons. What are some of the opportunities for PBL in my classroom or curriculum in school? Probably too many to mention here. I mean, anything that you can think of that is a problem or issue today that affects more than one person could probably be applied or investigated using PBL. Again, I've mentioned that when students are intrinsically motivated, they kind of take ownership of those ideas or their learning or the problems, and they're much more motivated. Like I said, there's not a lack of issues in society, so that could be a topic for anything in PBL. Some additional thoughts that I had when I was reading some of this stuff, the paper on Authentic as It Gets, one thing that stuck out was the quote was, "Problem-based learning is apprenticeship for real-life problem solving." I think that really hits the mark, because we're churning out little human beings that can think for themselves and think critically. So I think it really is a valuable thing to teach PBL. Problem-based learning as a classroom solution. Another interesting paper. Problem-based learning is the mechanism for allowing students to come to grips with significant academic subject matter. Yeah, that's true. It teaches them how to approach new things in a new way, or open-minded sort of thing. Addresses core things that teachers and society strive to help students become. I think I miscopied that. The last quote here, which I thought was a biblical parable, but I don't think that it is. But I think this relates to PBL. Give a person a fish and you feed them for a day. Teach that person to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. That's what teaching critical thinking skills and PBL is all about, I think. Just giving people the knowledge and confidence and environment to learn critical thinking skills and problem-based skills. So that's all I have to say. Bye for now.